And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we are going to be talking about the Timberwolves being able to defend home court against the Phoenix Suns and their big three, which hasn't really been looking so good in this postseason whatsoever. Kevin Durant ended the game playing 41 minutes and only dropped 18 points. Nurkic ended the game with 10 points and 14 rebounds. And Grayson Allen ended the game with only 3 points. He only played 17 minutes, however. Eric Gordon ended with 15 points, which was rather good. Booker ended with 20 points. Again, you really expect a lot more scoring from someone who plays 42 minutes, as well as Bradley Beal, who ended up playing 41 minutes and only ended scoring 14 points. And they did not shoot rather well from the field either. Devin Booker shot 6 for 13. Kevin Durant shot 6 for 15. Bradley Beal shot 6 for 17. And overall, they've been really, really bad in terms of efficiency in the postseason. And it's really not looking so well for either of those teams. Or, it's really not looking well for either of those players, on that team. That's my bad. And that's what this team relies on. They rely on these players and their scoring. And now that the players just aren't scoring as efficiently as is accustomed, now the team's sort of in a hole. Because now they have no other way to really stop the Timberwolves, and they also have no way to really give an impact aside from scoring. And in terms of for the Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards, he didn't really have that good of a game, but he was still able to impact the team in ways that, he was able to create a lot of shots for his team, and he was also able to provide a lot of a rather boost for the team when they desperately needed it. And this was one of those games that, again, it ended in a blowout. The final score was 105-93. Now, I did say that there was only one game that ended with two teams scoring double digits, but this was the only other team that scored triple digits, This was the only other team that scored 100 or more points in the night. And obviously, the shooting between Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal has been really bad. And it's almost like the team is it's really going to be like one of the biggest failures, I think, if this Phoenix Suns team doesn't end up shooting a lot better from the field than how they've been shooting in these playoffs. Because, shooting 6 of 15 from the field, playing 41 minutes is just unacceptable when it's only going to give you 18 points. You're the best player, you have to start producing like it, and he hasn't really been able to do that. So, Minnesota was sort of able to force Phoenix's offense to rely on the difficult shot making of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, which is not really a sustainable offense to have when the offense and when Devin Booker and when Kevin Durant aren't really shooting that well from the field. So shots weren't falling for the Phoenix Suns in this game, but they were still able to Ant's shot wasn't falling either. The Suns' shots weren't falling, Ant's shot wasn't falling, but Ant was still able to make an impact. And Jaden, Gobert, and Conley were definitely able to step up in this game as well. And while Ant wasn't really scoring that much in this game compared to how he normally does, he only scored 15 points in this game. So again, it's not really, and he shot 3 of 12 from the field. So not a very efficient night coming in from Ant, but he was able to provide. He was able to get 8 assists from this game, and Jaden McDaniels ended the game with 25 points. Ironically, when Anthony Edwards was talking about Phoenix getting Kevin Durant in a trade, he said, all right, they have KD, but we got Jaden McDaniels. And ironically, he ended up outplaying Kevin Durant in this game. And now Mike Conley, he also ended up playing rather well, scoring 18 points, 7 of 13 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. Rudy Gobert, he ended the game with 18 points, 6 of 8 from the field, and 6 for 7 from the free throw line. And he also ended the game with 9 rebounds as well. Karl-Anthony Towns, he hasn't really been that much of a scorer in the postseason, in these postseasons at least. And he's only scored 12 points, but they haven't really needed his scoring to sort of keep that series advantage, which is something that they can still hold to their advantage, because like now they go into Phoenix up 2-0 in the series, and so they could afford to sort of lose a game, and they don't have to worry about needing to steal an away game, similar to how the Mavericks and the Bucks have to steal an away game in order to have hopes of winning the series. So the fact that the Timberwolves don't have to worry about that just puts them, immediately alleviates a lot of pressure that they have going into Phoenix. And the fact that Anthony Edwards didn't even have to play well in this game to win also alleviates pressure, especially with Karl-Anthony Towns, where he doesn't have to seem to play well either, scoring 12 points, going 3 for 7 from the field, and 5 for 5 from the free throw line. And obviously, with they also didn't really shoot that well from the 3, 9 for 32 from the 3-point line. And that was obviously like a really poor performance from 3 from the Timberwolves. The Suns didn't really shoot that well from 3 either. Despite shooting a better percentage, 36% from 3, they did not make as many threes as the Timberwolves did. The Timberwolves made 1 more 3 than they did, and obviously that comes with taking more 3-pointers, and being 8 for 22 is also not acceptable when you are the Phoenix Suns. Another big difference maker in this game was the points off of turnover ratio, because the Phoenix Suns, they only had 2 points off of turnovers for the against the Timberwolves, but the Timberwolves ended up getting 31 points off of turnovers against the Phoenix Suns. So they were able to really capitalize on those fast break opportunities, which is something that Phoenix really struggled with in this game. And when a team is able to score fast breaks as easily as they were in this game, it adds another level of another level of offense that you sort of need to stop, because now you have to worry about, not only do you have to worry about them in the half court set, but you also have to worry about them in the full court set, where they press and they try to sort of run the fast break as quickly as possible. And when your team is slow to get back on defense, it's excuse me. When your team is slow to get back on defense, it's really difficult to sort of rely on them to get that stop in transition when you desperately need them to. And again, the shots just weren't falling for the Phoenix Suns. And if they lose in this series, if they lose in the first round, they're going to take farther steps back than what they've been able to do in the postseason, because they started out losing in the bubble, which was a sign that but they ended up going flawless. I can't really say that they started losing in the bubble, because they did not lose a single game in the bubble, and that was a sign that the team was sort of going places. Then they acquired Chris Paul, and that team was able to make it to the finals. Then they took the 1 seed the following season, and then they did lose in the second round, and then they did lose again in the second round while having Kevin Durant. But now they're sort of taking another step back and losing in the first round with Kevin Durant. And when you're a player as skilled as Kevin Durant, you sort of like, you have that stigma behind you where it's like you can't, especially with the type of player that he is, there's already a stigma behind him that he cannot make it far in the postseason without having a ridiculous advantage in terms of star power on his team. And now that he has Devin Booker and Bradley Beal on his team, and the team's not really performing as well as they're expecting to, it's really not looking good for the Phoenix Suns in this series, and it could really spell bad news for Kevin Durant and his legacy, because if they end up losing in this series, I really don't know what's the next step for Kevin Durant. Is he going to stay on Phoenix? Is he going to decide to go to a different team and that might have a better chance? But I have no idea where he could end up, and it really doesn't seem like... It really seemed like if things went according to, like, if no one got injured and if everyone was rather, like, was 100%, because when you don't play as many games, it's like you're not really as warmed up as everyone else who has played a numerous amount of games. So if these players were to, like, get their chemistry down, maybe we would be looking at something completely different. But it's like, really the problem is just that the shots just aren't falling for the Phoenix Suns. And if your shots just aren't falling, it's really difficult to win any series when you have to, like, because again, relying on difficult shots from Kevin Durant, while he is accustomed to making these difficult shots, it's not something that could be withstanding long term. And when you have a team like the Timberwolves who's playing rather well in these postseason games, you have to, like, really be efficient with the shots that you take. So that's sort of like all I have for this third segment. And with that, we are going to go into the fourth segment, which is going to be a little bit of a preview of the next two playoff games that are going to be happening today. And they start at 7. That's the first game that's going to happen. And then the second game is going to start at 9:30. So I will be tuning into both of those games, and be sure to tune into this fourth segment as I give a little bit of a rundown of what to expect from these games. So I will be right back after this short break.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.